The Holocaust happened because good people did not speak up. What I'm going to read to you now is an eyewitness account what happened to our family. It's pretty graphic. On November 5th and 6th, notices were distributed that persons of Jewish nationality without certificate from their place of work were required to appear the next day, November 6, 1941, at 6 o'clock in the morning at Gosteliana Square on Grubnik for evacuation from the town. Before November 6, rumors had circulated around town that we were all to be deported somewhere. No one even had the thought that they were assembling us to be shot. On November 6th and 7th, our entire family, father, mother, sister, brother, uncle, aunt, walked to Castellana Square in Grubnik. A wet snow was falling, a piercing wind was blowing. It was still dark, but thousands of people walked toward the square from all directions through the storm and bad weather. No one but Jews was on the street, since the order of the town chief had created an unusual situation. Men walked with bundles on their shoulders. The Germans had permitted us to take with us our valuables and a supply of food. Women walked carrying their children in their arms. Old folks came too. The healthy carried the sick in their arms. Toward 10 o'clock in the morning, we finally reached the square. Even before arriving the square, people began to sense something bad. All adjacent blocks had been sealed off by the SS and the local Ukrainian police. It was impossible to turn around and go back. The police would not have permitted it, and the people were locked into a dense mass. There was no room even to move, let alone to walk against the flow. Pushed from behind and not seeing, the police pressed us into some sort of madness. Sometime between noon and 1 o'clock, the square was packed with people. There was no more room. A German climbed a hillock and told the assembled crowd through a megaphone that they must leave here in a heap on the square everything they had brought with them, bundles, packages, suitcases, etc. Half hour later, there had grown several mounds of such bundles. Next, they led us along 2 routes to the village of Sosenki, located 2 to 3 kilometer walk from town. Now 3 chains of police and SS escorted us. There was no possibility of escape. As we approached Sosenki, we understood that we were walking to our death. Before my eyes, there appeared a nightmarish scene, one from which my blood still freezes many years later. And there were ditches, perhaps 100 meters long, with logs had been thrown across the pit. On the logs stood 10 to 20 people, arranged with their backs of their head facing us. There was a long volley of Tommy guns, and the people fell into the pit like mowed down ears of corn. Not far from the ditch were several pits. Everyone was forced to undress stark naked and walk to the edge of the pit, men and women separately. Every executioner practiced his own special type of murder. Some lined their victims up along the edge of the pit, facing forward. The Germans, by turn, shot each one in the back of the head. Others took their victims on their knees in front of the pit, while others forced their victims to run towards the pit and shot them as they approached the edge, and so on. Some threw young children alive into the pit, while others hurled them in the air and shot them in flight. All of this was accomplished by deadly groans and screams of the dying, and the laughter of the executioner. If one of the doomed tried to run off to the side, they shot him. Working for about 2 hours, the Germans would walk to a table, take a drink of vodka, snack on a sausage sandwich, then continue his vile work anew. As night fell, naked and at the limits of exhaustion from what I had seen, I lost consciousness. I was saved that night by some sort of miracle. I crawled between the lines of the police and reached my friends who lived on the edge of town. My entire family and all my relatives had been shot together with 17,500 Jews of Rovno. I do not know the names of the executioners. They were SS men, Gestapo, Ukrainian police. The shooting went on for 3 days.
We hid in a barn, in a stack of hay, me and my mother. Shelly and her mother went into hiding in a cave. And so we heard when these Ukrainian police came to the people in the village next door to our house, to the house, and they were bragging and telling the people how they killed my mother's sister, and they were asking where we were. So my mother wanted to get out from that barn and be killed. But I started begging her. I was just pleading with her, stay here, stay here. Of course, I didn't know anything, but I was afraid. And so we didn't get out, and the people didn't tell the police that we are there. And they went away. They were looking somewhere else for us, but we were saved.
We were in hiding for 28 months. What do I remember about coming to America? Okay, here, I was 12. So I had never seen a mirror like that. I had never ridden in a car. We were on trucks or trains. I had not seen wallpaper. I mean, I was fascinated by wallpaper. And the other thing that was so interesting is I could not believe they talked about we had radios, but they talked about television, and I didn't believe it existed because, how could you send pictures over the air? So I walked into my father's cousin's home, and there was a TV. I sat down and watched it, just accepted it. I didn't speak English. They put me in the 7th grade, and the first 6 months, no idea what was going on. I've had a very wonderful life in this country. And we just talked about the fact, that this country is not perfect, but I think it's the best country in the world right now. There's no question about it. We have the freedom to speak out. We have the freedom of the justice system. And I am very happy to be in this wonderful country.